Now we'll move on to even more exciting types of dunes, so star dunes. Okay, so this is a false color image of dunes in the Grand Erg Oriental in the Saharan Desert. And this is these aren't really going to look blue in reality, these areas probably, but it gives you a really good sense of where the sand is and the shapes of these dunes. And so these kinds of dunes, as you can see in the figure at the bottom right, tend to form in multi-directional winds. And because sand is all sort of being piled up in one place by these dunes, they're some of the tallest type of dunes that we find. And these are some really gorgeous examples of star dunes superimposed on some older longitudinal dunes in the same region shown in the previous slide. So again, you can see that maybe once in the past the winds were such that there were kind of winds almost parallel to this direction, and there were two different wind directions a year, and so you got these longitudinal dunes forming. And now as time has gone on and the climate has evolved a little bit, we now have multi-directional dunes, and so then these longitudinal dunes may be breaking down into star dunes. And again, there's a beautiful picture of a star dune from the Sahara over here. And there are many other dune types that we haven't covered. One interesting one is another crescent-shaped type of dune. And these are parabolic dunes. So remember, this is a Barkhan dune. And in a Barkhan dune, the wind is coming from this sort of big part of the crescent and the opposite side to this slip face here. And now in this parabolic dune, it's also true that the wind is coming from the opposite side to the slip face. But now the whole dune is sort of swapped around. So the tall part of the dune is curved in this way. So and then we have the slip face on the sort of the most rounded, the outer bit of the dune. And so what's happening is that it starts off as some kind of a little dome dune, and then you get something blow out the middle of it, and it doesn't behave the same way as a Barkhan dune because you have vegetation or sometimes water or ice that sort of anchors the horns and stops them from being moved. So the middle of the dune gets kind of moved away, but the rest of it kind of stays where it is. And they can often be by coasts. And then you have dome dunes, and these might grow into Barkhan dunes if they become large enough. And these are some really cute dome dunes on Mars. They really remind me of tribbles from Star Trek. They just look adorable. It looks like you'd want to keep one as your pet. And then you can see one down here that maybe is just starting to show a sign of developing horns and turning into a Barkhan dune maybe. We also have pyramid dunes, which are really beautiful, very grand looking dunes. And these may form in winds from perhaps 3 different directions that are kind of piling the sand up in a way that is a bit more organized than the star dunes, but 3 different wind directions kind of giving it that pyramid shape. So we also have network dunes. Now these may be formed by winds from many different directions acting on a big sand pile, and they tend to form a more cross-hatched shape. These are some complex dunes, maybe kind of network dunes, in Victoria Crater on Mars. And you might remember this as a place that Opportunity rover explored in some detail and sort of ducked down into this crater a little bit. And this is a close-up of those gorgeous dunes in the middle of it. And you can see they're just amazing shapes in there. So what kind of wind pattern might have caused these? Or we can do some numerical modeling. We can take what we call a large eddy simulation, and we can put in the topography, the shape of this crater, you can see in white here. And then you can just let the model predict what the winds should be. And this is actually a really simple version of the model where there is no background wind, and this is at night. And the winds, this is what the model predicts that the winds should be, forming purely due to the topography of that crater. And you can see if you look where the dunes are right here in the middle, the different wind directions that you get and the different wind speeds, and it's all sort of, it's like a big flag being waved across the middle here. There's all kinds of wind directions that are coming here over the course of just those few hours. And then if you look at the full day and you also look at different background wind speeds, you can get even more complicated patterns of behavior across that region.